because something that Isabel Wilkerson brings up is that she, as a Black woman from America, when she visits India, is able to tell who the upper caste person is, even though there aren't as many visual cues in India. She said they're usually lighter skinned and usually have finer features in the face, but that's not always the case. So she's like, there's some colorism, but it's not a deadpan. What gives it away is their expectation of centrality in the discussions, that they expect that their way is the norm, that they interrupt and correct even on things that they are not experts or don't have any lived experience in, and just the way they carry themselves, that they expect to be at the center and heard. And she gives explicit examples of this in her book from her own experience. And in my research on the unwritten rules of work, I always say that the idea behind the unwritten rules of work is that there's one right way to do things. And the reason, part of why it's so hard to convey these issues with unwritten rules to leadership is because they just see them as normal. They just see them as this is professionalism. And it's very hard to see when your own culture is a culture, because we all want to believe that our own culture is just the way things are. But if you've been in a marginalized group, you have to know what the upper caste is doing, because she distinguishes between class and caste. And there's been many other researchers besides me who have pointed out that this is why a lot of white people, myself included, didn't used to think we had culture. We were like, no, we don't have culture. But it is that we have culture. We just see our culture validated in all of the systems that have access to money and power. Now, of course, there's variation there, as I have talked about with my own research on class. Even as a white woman, once I got into a certain level of elite environments, I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. This isn't my kind of white people. Doesn't negate my white privilege, but it was different. And that's when you've crossed into another caste levels. But just that expectation of centrality is an upper caste trait of that this isn't my culture. This is the right way. And because you're not doing it, you are inferior, and that's why you don't have my privileges.